I met with a couple recently that they're in their late 50s, getting a little bit closer to retirement. He's an executive over at Disney, and his wife works as a nurse, and um, they both are making pretty good money. Late 50s, generally, you're making the best money that you've ever made, and and they had several issues going on when it comes to the financial situation. But mainly, it's just they're busy. They're smart people. Certainly, they're capable of handling their own financial situation. But at the same time, there's only so much time in the day. And so I was able to work with them to help save them pretty substantial amounts on taxes, just making some changes, and also give them just better clarity in their financial situation as they head from their working years into retirement. So there are four things really that we worked on. The first is the investment strategy. Investments are a major part as you're making that transition from working years into retirement, because it's a changing strategy where at one time it was all grow, 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 grow. Now in the late 50s, you've got a nice nest egg there, and it's less about growing that money and more about how do we protect that, preserve it, and still keep it growing, sure, but at the same time, we don't necessarily want to take the same risks that we did when we were in the 20s or 30s. So not only the changing of the strategy, but also as we age, we grow more assets and more different pockets of money. So maybe a play stock account, maybe some mutual funds over here, maybe there's an annuity over there, several different bank accounts and savings accounts, and it turns out to be fairly complex across several different accounts. What's the overarching investment strategy? What are the tax ramifications associated with those different types of accounts, and coordinating those together? And so, one of the things with investment strategies was reducing the amount of risk that they have by reducing their allocation overall to stocks. But we wanted to do that in a tax efficient manner, because more conservative investments, things like bonds, but not only bonds, but things like bonds, and there's all different sorts of categories, pay interest that's ordinary income interest. And so rather than holding that in an account that's going to be taxable, we want to hold that in an account that's not going to be taxable, and have those growth oriented investments still be in non retirement accounts to have a little bit more tax efficiency there. The second thing that we looked at was their stock compensation plan. At Disney, there's the main stock compensation plan is what's called long-term incentive, or Disney LTI. And how this works is it's basically the golden handcuffs, as they say. So it's compensation that's given in 1 year, but it vests over a 3-year time frame. And in Disney's instance, at least in 2023, it pays out in June and in December. And so the question that becomes, and how the compensation is paid out, rather than it just being cash, it's paid out in Disney stock. And so how do we handle that Disney stock, both amounts that have already been accumulated over time and ongoing contributions as well? And so the first thought when we're talking about investments is do we believe that this is a prudent investment moving forward or not, based on the goals and objectives that each individual person is trying to accomplish? Some people that answer will be yes, some people that answer will be no. A lot of it has to do with their overall allocation and how much exposure they might have to the company stock. Generally, I don't want people to have more than roughly 10% of their net worth tied up in company stock, uh, and that can be exasperated, especially if all of your income is coming from the company as well. So we needed to decide how to handle the ongoing payout of the Disney LTI, but at the same time, what to do with the existing Disney stock as well. And some of that has to do, of course, with the individual goals and objectives, but also how do we think about that investment overall, and what are the tax ramifications Now, with this client in particular, since there had been Disney stock there for many years, there's some that had gains, but some that had losses, and so changes are able to be made without with low tax ramifications. But still, we want to consider tax ramifications, in any individual situation. The third thing that we worked on was just bonus compensation as well. So on top of LTI, they're also receiving bonus compensation, and that comes in kind of lump form payments. And so they now got this extra income that they don't really need per se, and don't really want to spend it. They're able to take vacations and all of that stuff. And so we need a place to put that money. And so for this particular client, we looked at just using what's called a non-retirement account or after-tax account. And this is just an investment account where they're able to buy into stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things of that nature. They're able to hold it as a joint account rather than an individual account, so that they can pass it to one another. They can add a beneficiary to the account in case something happens to them. And we're able to have an investment strategy in that non-retirement account that's able to build up to help cushion that transition into retirement, especially if we're planning to delay potentially Social Security or their pension income. If they want to retire earlier, we need to find a way to cover those healthcare expenses and things of that nature. But we really only want to do that assuming that all of the tax advantaged accounts are already being funded through other means, like your 401k, health savings account, things of that nature. And the fourth thing that we really discussed and focused in on was, now that the kids are grown and starting their own lives, it's time to update the estate plan. So basically, we needed to look through what happens upon passing, who's going to make decisions, financial decisions upon incapacity, even. So that's really the two things that we're concerned about is what happens upon passing, and also what happens if one was to become incapacitated. And so not only do we want to have the right documents in place, that's really step one, but step two is talking through the plans and wishes, having plans written out as far as being able to access accounts, understanding who the points of contact are, knowing where all of the documents are, passwords and all of that stuff. There's so much that goes to the estate plan, more than just having the right documents in place. And even oftentimes we see where clients will have the right documents, but they haven't actually gone through and implemented those documents onto their accounts, whether that's renaming beneficiaries or changing account titles, things of that nature. So that's just one example, one case study of a potential client that is in their late 50s and looking to start to make that transition towards retirement. They're not really quite ready to retire just yet, but heading towards that way. And so there are lots of decisions and changes that need to be making at that time.